You're in bed. The room is dark. Your phone lights up your face. And he still hasn't replied. You tell yourself it's maturity, that you're not anxious, that you just want clarity. But your chest is racing. You've lived this before. Intense men, fast promises, slow disappearances. During the day you're confident. You solve problems. You make firm decisions. At night, you doubt yourself. It's not neediness. It's activation. Something old wakes up. And you run. You run after. You run to prove. You run to be chosen. Even while saying you don't need to. But here's the uncomfortable truth. It's not love moving you. It's anxiety disguised as connection. And it chooses for you. If you know your worth. Why do you still feel urgency when someone treats you like an option? You are not crazy. Not weak. Not behind in life. What you feel has logic. It has roots. It has history. And it has a quiet name. Relational anxiety. Napoleon Hill said the subconscious operates by dominant belief. Not by the quote you post, but by the truth you carry. Especially when no one is watching. Especially at night. When the room is dark. And the phone doesn't vibrate. That's when belief speaks. If inside you there is the idea that love must be earned. Your body shifts into prove mode. Performance mode. Conquest mode. You don't relax. You prepare. You analyze every message. Like it's an exam. You say you want reciprocity. But you feel drawn to challenge. To the difficult man. To the emotionally distant one. Because distance activates something old. And old feels familiar. And familiar feels safe. Even when it hurts. Your nervous system doesn't react to the man. It reacts to the possibility of abandonment. And abandonment activates urgency. Urgency creates movement. Movement feels like passion. But it's not passion. It's emotional survival. Disguised as love. You feel chemistry. But it's alertness. You feel connection. But it's tension. You feel destiny. But it's repetition. The subconscious tries to prove a belief. Not live a truth. If the dominant belief is, I need to be chosen. You will chase. Even while saying you don't need to. Even knowing your worth. Even after therapy. Because emotional belief doesn't change with logic. It changes with awareness. And that hurts. You don't choose wrong men because you lack intelligence. You choose from programming. Programming built early. Maybe when love was unstable. Maybe when attention was scarce. Maybe when being strong was required. And there you learned. That love demands effort. And now, every time someone is ambiguous, your body reads it as challenge. And challenge activates your old identity. The fixer. The saver. The one who insists. The one who proves worth. Even if it costs you. But here is the turning point. If belief creates the impulse, you can create a new belief. If the subconscious learned, it can also unlearn. And that happens. Attraction changes. And silence is no longer a threat. You say you want peace. But your body recognizes intensity. You say you want security. But you feel alive in unpredictability. There's a pattern here. And it didn't start now. It started long before him. Long before the last relationship. Maybe you learned early. That love came with tension. That attention required effort. That closeness meant instability. So calm feels strange. Availability feels boring. Emotionally healthy men feel dull. And that confuses you. When someone replies quickly. When someone is clear. When someone shows consistent interest. You relax for a day. But on the second day, something inside you shuts down. There's no chase. No proving. And without proving, you don't feel value. Without challenge, you don't feel achievement. Without instability, your system doesn't activate. And you call it lack of chemistry. But it isn't. You feel more drawn. To the one who withholds. To the one who delays. To the one who is ambiguous. Because ambiguity activates anxiety. And anxiety activates movement. And movement gives you purpose. Even if it hurts. You're not seeking love. You are seeking validation. Not partnership. But confirmation. Confirmation that you are enough. Confirmation that you are desirable. Confirmation that you won't be abandoned. And here is the invisible point. The more unavailable he is, the more available you become. The less he invests. The more you explain. The more you try to understand. The more you adjust. Without noticing, you begin negotiating boundaries. accepting less, rationalizing red flags. Because your anxiety whispers, if I do it right, he'll stay. And you try, and try, and try. But deep down, you're trying to pass a test. No one assigned to you. Trying to prove your worth to someone who doesn't know it. And while you chase him, you drift from yourself, fully. And this is where awareness hurts. Wasn't bad luck. It was pattern. Not coincidence. Emotional repetition. But if it's repetition, it can be interrupted. If you dare to stop, if you see yourself in these words, don't ignore it. Click the button right now and subscribe, because this space is for women who want awareness, not illusion. Here you won't learn how to chase someone. You'll learn how to never abandon yourself again. And that changes everything. Every time you enter this cycle, you lose a little energy. It's not drama. It's real exhaustion. You sleep less, think more, overanalyze, and live on alert. Your body stays tense. Your mood shifts. Your productivity drops. But you call it a phase. You say it's under control. That you're just waiting for him to decide. That you're patient. But patience shouldn't hurt. The worst part isn't him leaving. It's who you become while he stays. You start secure. You end insecure. You start whole. You end questioning your worth. And that is expensive. Very expensive. You reread messages. Replay conversations in your mind. Search for invisible signals. Try to predict his next move. Your world shrinks. Your peace fades. Your light dims. And you call it passion. Loneliness begins to speak. Not physical loneliness, but internal loneliness. The one that whispers. Maybe you're asking for too much. Maybe you should be easier. Maybe you're the problem. And that corrodes you. Fully. You negotiate boundaries. Accept less presence. Tolerate less clarity. Swallow discomfort. So you don't seem demanding. So you don't seem intense. So you don't lose him. Then comes the false solution. You decide to love harder. Be more understanding. Be more available. Maybe become indispensable. Maybe adapt better. Maybe lower expectations. But it never works. Sometimes you do the opposite. You shut down. Pretend disinterest. Delay responses. Try to look detached. But inside you're anxious. Monitoring every reaction. That doesn't work either. Chasing doesn't save it. Closing off doesn't protect you. Pleasing doesn't guarantee permanence. Because the issue isn't strategy. It's emotional activation. As long as anxiety chooses for you, you'll stay drawn to risk. Even while craving peace. This is where it hurts. But also where it clears. You don't need to learn how to hold someone. You need to learn how to regulate yourself. You need to interrupt the impulse. It becomes a decision. Because when you pause, something new begins. The first action is simple. But it requires emotional discipline. You must delay your reaction. Do not respond at the peak of anxiety. Do not decide at the height of activation. Anxiety is impulse. And impulse is not truth. It's emotional discharge. When he delays. When he's ambiguous. When you feel urgency. You don't act. You observe. You name what you feel. This is fear. This is activation. The brain needs minutes. Sometimes hours. To exit threat mode. If you respond before that, you respond from the wound. Not from the mature woman you are. And the cycle continues. Quietly. Napoleon Hill spoke about conscious reprogramming. Replacing belief requires intentional repetition. So here is the new sentence. I do not need to prove myself to be chosen. Repeat it when the impulse comes. Repeat it when you want to over-explain. Repeat it when silence scares you. Until your body learns. The second action is harder. You must change your attraction criteria. Not, do I feel intensity? But, do I feel safe? Your new filter is peace. Not adrenaline. Your new thermometer is consistency. Not mystery. Observe how he behaves. Not how he promises. Observe frequency. Not speeches. Observe stability. Not charm. Emotionally available men are predictable. And predictable is healthy. At first it may feel boring. Because your system is used to spikes. But peace is quiet. It doesn't perform. It doesn't create drama. It doesn't create urgency. It creates foundation. And foundation sustains love. You don't need to become cold. Or overly strategic. You need to become regulated. able to feel without losing yourself, able to like without chasing, able to wait without begging. That is emotional strength, not control. Fully, you begin to notice something new. His silence no longer disorganizes you. Ambiguity no longer seduces you. Inconsistency exhausts you. What once felt attractive now feels unstable. And that is growth. Because when you change the dominant belief, you change the kind of man who stays. You change the rhythm of connection. You change the energy of the relationship. And most importantly, you change how you feel at night. Plumber. Oh. You thought God was silent. You thought he didn't see your restless nights. You thought you were alone in the dark room. But maybe silence wasn't absence. Maybe it was protection. Maybe it was redirection. Maybe it was deliverance. And you just couldn't see it yet. Proverbs says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding, because your understanding can be anxious, wounded, shaped by fear." But he promises to make your path straight. Making straight doesn't mean speeding up. It doesn't mean sending any man. It doesn't mean filling the void quickly. It means alignment. Removing what misguides you. Closing doors that would trigger your wound. Even when you call it loss. Maybe it was care. And the Psalm says, "The Lord is close to the brokenhearted." Close. Not distant. Not indifferent. Close in the silent tears. Close in unanswered texts. Close in the sigh before sleep. Maybe your anxiety isn't weakness. Maybe it's invitation. An invitation to trust differently. To love differently. To choose differently. To see yourself as he sees you. Whole before any relationship. Valuable without proving. You asked for love. But God is building discernment. You asked for companionship. But he is forming inner stability. Because love without stability becomes chaos. And he doesn't want chaos for you. He wants peace. He wants maturity. Maybe some men didn't stay, because they would have stayed in the wrong place. Maybe some silences hurt, because you still confused intensity with destiny. Maybe some rejections weren't rejections. They were redirections. And that changes everything. Faith doesn't erase anxiety instantly, but it shifts the axis. You stop asking, "Why didn't he choose me?" And start asking, "Does this move me closer to the woman I want to be?" That question changes decisions, changes patterns. You begin to notice something subtle. Not every delay is abandonment. Not every loss is failure. Not every silence is lack of love. Some are invisible protection. Some are invisible alignment. Some are God sparing you from what would steal your peace. And when you trust, not your urgency, but his direction, something settles. Your heart slows. Your mind clears. And the night feels lighter. Because you are no longer running. Remember the woman in bed. The dark room. The phone lighting her face. Her racing heart. He thought it was love. He thought it was destiny. But it was anxiety seeking validation. And now she knows. She didn't need to chase, or prove, or beg for presence. She needed to pause, breathe, regulate her body, revisit the belief, and choose differently. Psychology taught her something essential. Dominant belief creates automatic behavior. But belief can be replaced. Through repeated awareness. Through new decisions. Through new responses to the same trigger. This isn't magic. It's emotional maturity. Spirituality taught her something deeper. She was never abandoned. Never invisible. Never forgotten. Some delays were protection. Some absences were deliverance. Some endings were mercy. Even when they hurt, loneliness didn't disappear. It transformed. From desperation to fertile silence. From emptiness to conscious space. From anxiety to discernment. Now when someone appears, she doesn't ask, "Will he choose me?" She asks, "Do I feel safe here? Is there consistency? Is there peace?" And if there isn't, she doesn't insist. She understands something liberating. Intensity is not intimacy. Urgency is not love. Mystery is not depth. And anxiety is not chemistry. She learned the difference. And that changes destiny. Truly, the nights still exist. But they are no longer battlefields. They are moments of reflection, of quiet prayer, of conscious breathing. She no longer waits for a message to feel worthy. She no longer measures value by attention received. She sleeps with dignity, Because in the end, it was never about finding someone. It was about finding herself again. Trusting beyond fear. Choosing beyond the wound. Living beyond repetition. And when that happens, love stops being pursuit and becomes consequence. You can change your destiny, not by choosing better men, but by choosing yourself better, by changing your belief, regulating your anxiety, trusting God's direction. And when you stop running, what is meant for you stays. If this message resonated with you, subscribe right now to our channel. Here you won't learn how to chase love. You'll learn how to reclaim your peace. And peaceful women make different choices. And different choices change destinies. If you made it to the end of this video, write in the comments, "I choose peace." Every time you declare it, your mind reinforces a new belief. And when your decision aligns with faith, something spiritual shifts. May God strengthen your discernment and calm your nights. You are not alone in this new beginning.